And good morning, or whenever you're actually seeing this. Yeah, thank you for sharing this space with me today. Hello. As you're joining, just get settled in any type of comfortable position. You can be lying down, you can be sitting, whatever feels good for you. I'm really excited about what we're talking about today. It's kind of a passion area for me. I work with emotions, and so if you've seen the description of this live, you know that we're kind of debunking some of the information around positive thinking. And even if you already know that, I think it's just natural to want to be in that space of thinking positively. Hi, Victoria. Yeah. So, yes, as you're getting settled in, just, feel free to. Hi, Jenna. This is so fun. I'm really loving doing lives lately. But yeah, get settled, feel comfortable. You can be in your pajamas. I'm in like the flowiest, most expansive shirt, um, which is perfect for Jupiter Day, which I always talk about is Thursday. I'm really happy to be here, Victoria. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you, Victoria, for having me and allowing me to come into your space through Shops and Kalpa. I just really love this alignment that we have going on. Um, and it's just really an honor to share all this with you. So, yeah, this morning I actually have kind of a lot to go through. I feel like usually the practice is a little less energized. And I think I'm just tuning into probably the fiery nature of this Leo season that we're in, which is also my sun season. So it's just, it's super fun. So I'm going to try to get through some of this information before we go into the practice, and leave space for journaling and reflection. But if we don't get to that in this 30 minutes, please feel free to continue another 7-ish minutes to download and dump kind of what's come through for you. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Beth Porter. I run the account and the business Earth and Ether. I am an intuitive healing and life transformation guide. I work with a practice called Emotional Polarity Technique, and I guide my clients, mostly women, but I do work with some amazing men or people that identify with men or women, who are really looking to tune into who they are authentically and how to operate from that space in this world, which then ultimately benefits all of us. So really passionate about helping us to move from a space that is real. And we have so much messaging in our society, but also, I think we're breaking out of it. So it's good and exciting. But we have a lot of messaging around showing up a certain way. And we have a lot of work to create a space, where the collective feels safe to show up in a real, authentic way. And there's so much that, from astrology that is speaking to how that is being opened up right now, and, with Uranus and Taurus, but I don't need to go into all that today. So again, I'm honored to share this with you today. So we're talking about emotions, and we're talking about how we try to stay in a space of being positive, and being in that space of thinking positive, or, trying to switch your mindset or use affirmations to convince yourself that something is good, is sort of like, it's like an attempt at reverse psychology, which is actually telling yourself how to feel instead of honoring what you're actually feeling. And I mentioned in my post that, it can be really damaging to your psyche, because essentially what is happening inside is in conflict with what you're telling it to happen or telling it to be. And so we aren't able to find a resolution within us to be ourselves and to honor what's actually happening. And so it's almost like when you are, say you're in an argument with somebody, or, I'm just thinking like in partnership, and you're like, I feel X, Y, and Z, and they're trying to tell you that you should feel X, Y, and Z a different way. It's almost like gaslighting, like you're gaslighting yourself. So that sounds really intense, but, it's something that we all do. It's something that we've been taught, thinking about being, seeing like a screaming toddler and the parents being like, shh, be quiet, like settle down, or, not being able to honor their like full expression. This is something that that's like pretty deeply ingrained. So whether you're overtly not honoring your true emotions, or you are overtly doing it, it's something that is within all of us. And it's an experience that I believe, if we can decondition this, will lead to more authentic expression in the world. And essentially, just on a personal level, being able to work through these tricky things, these tricky emotions, in a way that doesn't lead you to feeling shame, that doesn't lead you to feeling like you're not like everybody else, or you're not good enough. It leads to a higher sense of self-worth. So thinking about affirmations and how they really just, unfortunately, don't address really what's underneath. And I'm going to talk about the differences of choosing affirmations that you're aligned to, and then noticing when you're not actually aligned to them. My screen is going dark. Okay, so when an affirmation is in conflict with what you're actually believing, they essentially deny or suppress the truth of what you truly believe. So that leads to dealing with issues in a way of almost like disassociating, or you're like numbing yourself with these positive thoughts. And it's a little bit distracting. You're not actually able to be present or in that space of wholeness. You're not actually honoring all parts of you. So sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, right? So if you've ever worked with affirmations before, put them up on your mirror, or, working even with a mantra, we can be loose with this term. Sometimes it seems like they really work and sometimes they don't. And so the difference here is, and what I've found is that when you're choosing an affirmation or working with an affirmation that isn't working for you, you're coming from a space of bargaining. You're coming from a space of, okay, if I do this, then I'll fix this in my life. If I say this enough times, then I will make sure I will fix myself. I will make sure that I'm better. I'll help myself to be better. And a lot of us that are, oriented down this path of, self-development and wanting to be better and wanting to be the best version of yourself, we easily can get caught up in this kind of experience of bargaining with ourselves. With, it's almost like thinking about like if you've ever tried some type of diet, with your intention being, oh, if I do this diet, then I'm going to lose 5 pounds. If I lose 5 pounds, then I'll feel better about myself. That's kind of the essence of bargaining. And then you find that maybe it doesn't work and that 5 pounds comes back on, or you find yourself in a loop of, 6 months later, trying that same thing again. What we want to do is get to a place of acceptance. So when it comes to stages of healing, and I use this in my work, there are 7 stages of healing. Stage 3 is bargaining. Stage 5 is acceptance. And acceptance is truly looking at something from a place of, I'm going to bring this into my life out of unconditional love because I know it nourishes me. It's almost like the way I see it is bargaining is like looking back, like trying to keep something from happening, or trying to keep something from happening again, or just trying to like force yourself to believe something that you're trying to do. I'll run an example through this to make it a little bit more clear. And then acceptance is sort of like pulling things into your life from like a forward perspective of, I'm drinking water because it hydrates me and it makes me feel really good. I'm not drinking water so that I can lose weight, or I'm not drinking water so that I can, for me, I had an issue with acne for a really long time. And so I would, I'd stop drinking coffee and I would make sure I was drinking a bunch of water, and I would take all these supplements, and I was like trying to force myself to believe that I could get rid of this acne, or that I was worthy of having clear skin. But I had to move into a space of acceptance for it to actually work, essentially. I had to realize that there isn't anything inherently wrong with me, And the acne that was showing up has nothing to do with who I am or what I'm worthy of, if that makes sense. If you guys are having any questions, please feel free to shout out. So what I want us to do is, let me run this example through quickly. And I do know usually my practices kind of, we dive right in, but I wanted to just explain this first and then we'll go into the practice. So let's just pretend like we're using the affirmation, I am beautiful. I feel like most people can identify with the idea of wanting to feel, attractive. So imagine that you're like standing in front of the mirror in the morning and you're told, okay, I need to say I am beautiful. And you're looking at yourself and you're saying, I am beautiful. I am beautiful. Underneath, if you don't actually believe you're beautiful, you might start feeling like you're looking in the mirror and you're saying it, but you're noticing everything that's wrong with you, or you're like realizing that you actually don't believe it, and so you start feeling bad about yourself because you don't actually believe the thing you're supposed to be believing. You just get into like this loop. Underneath that belief could be this idea, and we're just taking this through as an example, but the reason that affirmations are tricky is because we're just like slapping a Band-Aid over something that is an actual wound. And so if underneath that belief, or underneath that statement is a belief that you can't trust being beautiful because growing up and currently you see beautiful women and attractive men showing up in the world not believing that they are those things. So for example, if you grow up in a family, this is everywhere. So say you grow up and you think your mother is gorgeous, but you see her and hear her maybe talking about how she isn't pretty, or you see her like nitpicking everything in the mirror, etc., etc. So you can't actually, there's a reason why you can't believe that truth. Our beliefs determine our whole experience, right? And so essentially when you are trying to force a belief that isn't really there, it's not going to work. So what's underneath that, if we just go a little bit deeper, is yes, you've seen it modeled that it's not okay to feel like you're beautiful because you don't believe that when you see people that are beautiful and they don't believe that they're beautiful, you actually feel some of the way that they feel when you're absorbing this programming. And so when you step into a space of trying to feel beautiful and believe that you're beautiful, it is hard for you start to feel that emotional experience. You start to feel there's an underlying loyalty to that person that you've picked it up from, or to your family system, or to, for me, I found like being loyal to the collective of women who, we've been fed for a long time that in order for us to love ourselves and to feel like we're attractive and to feel like we're beautiful, we have to work really hard. We have to put ourselves on diets. We have to have the right skincare. We have to have the right X, Y, and Z. Like everything has to be perfectly aligned. Or you have to have the right genes. Like what the fuck is the right genes? So essentially we have this attachment or this loyalty to our systems, or to our family systems, or to entire groups of people. And that's what's living underneath this like Band-Aid affirmation of I am beautiful. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Essentially, we have to go underneath and connect to that loyalty or the underlying belief. Any one of us can like dig in and figure out where this is rooted. You just need to be in a grounded space. You need to be able to tune into your system and ask yourself questions and be willing to notice what comes forward. And then honor it and nurture it and allow it to be there and allow yourself to release it. So what we're going to be doing today is walking through a practice of, I'm calling it contract burning. So essentially running through any contracts that you are connected to that are making your affirmations or positive thinking not actually come from acceptance, but more from bargaining. And so we're just going to tune into this idea of, we're going to go into a calm space and we're going to bring forward, whatever's coming up for you, any negative thought, any affirmation that you're trying to connect to that you can't connect to. You can kind of like reverse that. or just any negative pattern, looping beliefs, whatever is going to come up for you. Allow it to come forward in this practice and without judgment. Yeah, and again, also knowing that there's no shame in trying to use affirmations. I've been there. I use them when I already have a foundation of truth. So definitely, affirmations have a place. I see it more as it's like a building block. Once you're in that space of truth and acceptance, and it's coming from a place of love, it then will help build the strength. People talk about where your, energy goes, everything grows, right? And so that's why there's a big fear around, connecting to these negative feelings that maybe I don't believe I'm beautiful. If I don't believe I'm beautiful, I'll never be beautiful. Like there's this mind fuck that happens. And so all we need to do is just honor where it isn't actually true yet, and go in there and release it. So, all right. What I want us to do is get comfortable, get into a nice seated position or laying down, however feels good for you. And we're just going to start by grounding a little bit. So essentially we want to create a safe space within our bodies. And so what I'm going to have you do, I have my clients do this at the beginning of each session. It's just a nice little grounding practice. So you can do this at any point, but I want you to put your hands on either side of your head. And I want you to take in 3 deep breaths in your nose and out your mouth. And as you breathe in, just squeeze. And as you breathe out, you can release. Okay? So go ahead and breathe. Good. And that just helps us to connect to our right and left brain and bring ourselves right into our bodies. And so I just invite you, go ahead and close your eyes. And just allow your breath to be a normal cadence. Whatever that is for you today. And just honor that we are not trying to alter how you are right now. We're not trying to alter who you are. And I want you to just bring your attention to the part of your body that is against the surface beneath you, whether that's your feet on the ground, or maybe your seat on a chair. With your attention in that space, just acknowledge that all of your weight can lean into it and be held. And just notice how that surface beneath you is also rising up to meet you. And with your eyes closed, continue to breathe easily. Notice the base of your spine, which is your root. Notice the space around you, if you're hearing any sounds or any lingering energies that are not of what you're trying to cultivate, just allow them to be there. If that paused, it's because my phone turned off. My apologies. Continue breathing. So as you've collected all of your energy, go ahead and create a boundary around yourself. Imagining it as a bubble that fits you perfectly however you like. So if you'd like a little extra space, or if you want to size it to just fit right around you, feel free to do that. And in this bubble is filled with all of your energy, and it has a color. So assign it a color that comes to you, whatever suits you today. And let that color become more and more and more intense and vibrant. note that this is your boundary that is keeping you safe. So inside of this color bubble that has all of your energy, notice your root again, the base of your spine, and just say to yourself, I am safe. I am safe. And with that, in your mind's eye, just look down to your hands and notice a roll of parchment paper, like a scroll. Imagine that it has a neutral color. And feel free to unroll it, but keep it inside that bubble, that boundary of your space. And as you're looking at that scroll, I want you to project, write, express, however it makes sense for you, onto that paper, whatever is distressing you. So whatever you're bringing forward here that needs to be resolved. This can be, like I said earlier, a limiting belief or a negative pattern. It could just be an emotional experience. Maybe you've been dealing with, some anger that's been coming up recently, or fear. Fear that we don't know what's going to happen next. Whatever it is for you, start projecting it onto that paper. Start capturing it, whichever way makes sense to you. This can be that, initial belief, but you can also explore. So you can add more. Anything that comes up. So maybe these are rules that you think you're supposed to follow, or the way you're supposed to act or look or be. Maybe it's just something you've been tussling with for a while in your mind. Maybe it's a limiting belief that you've assigned to your identity. Maybe it's even things or an experience that you think you aren't allowed to have. Maybe you see other people in your life enjoying their day-to-day, or getting new homes, or really flourishing during this time. And maybe there's a belief that you specifically aren't able to have what they have. Whatever it is. And so as you're doing this, just notice if any specific emotions come up. And that's totally fine. Whatever they are, if they're uncomfortable, you can project it onto that paper as well. So whatever expression of that is, if it feels melancholic or depressive, place it onto the paper in that way. If it feels like anger, throw it on the paper. Keep tuning into your experience and just gather, even if it's simply just energetically, all the spaces that feel hard. So from a physicality standpoint, if in your system you're feeling tension in a certain area of your body, imagine grabbing that tension and releasing it onto that paper, encouraging a little more softness. And when you're ready, I encourage you to roll up the parchment paper tightly, allowing yourself to symbolically represent, the closing of these old contracts with these concepts that you just designated, that you're ready to allow space to move. And once you've rolled it super, super tight, tie it with a cord or a string. You can double knot it or triple knot it. You can make a design with the way you tie it. Really securing this contract. Acknowledging that it is closed and no longer needs to come back open. And also acknowledging that these things are separate from you. The feelings that you've had, the beliefs that you've had, these are just running beliefs and feelings in your system. It's not actually who you are. So with that really tightly secured contract, I want you to imagine just tossing it outside of that boundary that you created. And when you toss it outside, there's a roaring fire that it falls right into. And I want you to allow, whatever emotions come forward. If you threw it with vigor, if you're excited about it, if you're ready to dance around the fire, show up to that fire with your boundary around you, separate from the contract, and watch it burn. Watch it burn to a crisp. Allow yourself to do and express any movement you need. So again, if you tossed it with a level of sadness, you can show up to that fire in a way that feels like, you're honoring something. So maybe you walk up to it slowly and you watch it burn and you give it thanks and allow it to go. If you tossed it with anger and, frustration and the idea of like, get the fuck out, stand over it. Show it that you are dominating it, whatever needs to come through for you. And once you've effectively seen it burn completely to a crisp, I want you to take a few steps back from the fire. Tune into your feet. Notice the support underneath it, underneath your body. Just bring your awareness back to your body, and back to your space, back to the room that you're in right now. And you can just blink your eyes open and meet us back together. So, since we are at time, if you want to share any reflections that came through for you, you are totally welcome to. This is just a new practice that I've been working with to allow myself to shift in the moment a perspective around a belief or just an icky feeling that's just been lingering. So for me, a lot of fear has been coming up just around the situation that we're in and not knowing what the future holds. And, my brain wants to attach to plans and scheduling and hustling, and my heart really wants to sink in and trust and allow more of a, yin-like flow, and I'm in conflict there. And so using this practice to, each time I need to, burn the contracts that I've had for a long time. I see. Okay, this gets to the heart of Sankalpa. The way we set intention is only nourishing. Exactly. And yes, Victoria, I feel like the way that you speak about intention is, I really, really resonate with it. And I just think that sometimes we, as a society, really feel we've just been told there's all of this rhetoric around law of attraction and making gratitude lists and wanting, being okay with where you are, being content. And I've just, felt in my life and the work I do with clients, when you aren't feeling okay with where you are, then you start to go into like a shame spiral, because I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be appreciative of everything that's around me. I'm supposed to appreciate that now with COVID, I get to work from home, and that was a dream for me. And now I'm lonely and I don't appreciate, like, we can just go into a major spiral. And, A, that's a very normal experience. And B, I think that the intention has maybe gotten lost with the idea of thinking positive and putting your energy, in a space to make something grow. Essentially, we need to notice, are you really aligned with that intention? Are you really aligned with that affirmation or the mantra that you're working with? And if you're not, adjust it. If you're not, one thing, you can go through this practice, but another thing you can do is truly just adjust that intention. I think that, sometimes, going back to that example of I am beautiful. If I look into the mirror and say I am beautiful, maybe on Monday I feel that way, but Tuesday I don't. Like, I can adjust it on Tuesday to say I love and accept myself finding beauty within me. That softens it a little bit. My ego, my limbic brain, like my system can attach to that a little bit more easily from a place of acceptance. Maybe it's even I love and accept myself rediscovering my beauty. Even when I'm afraid I'm not worthy of it, even when I'm afraid it's not true. I like to add this like qualifier after some of my statements, even when I'm afraid, because we that keeps us in a space of, protection. So often it makes it harder for us to leave our old mindset and go into a new mindset. It's usually some level of fear or deeper attachment in that way. So yeah, I encourage you to kind of recreate the mantra or the affirmation or whatever it is you're working with, the intention to have a level of attachment to where you already are, so that you're kind of like pulling yourself in that direction instead of trying to get yourself to like jump over the bridge. Like, allow yourself to walk the bridge. Oh yeah, I really love what you said. The positive affirmations are like gaslighting yourself. Yes. And gaslighting is kind of a term that has been thrown around a bunch, and it's easy to see when someone else is doing that to you, because you feel like your boundaries have been crossed. It's like an initial like, hey, wait, I actually feel a certain way, and this person, and a lot of us, everyone does this accidentally or intentionally, but even like teachers, thinking about when you're in school as a child, teachers are like, they have people with the best intentions will still gaslight you. And you know what it feels like when your boundary has been crossed and you feel like you were made to feel like your experience is not okay. And that's what we do to ourselves all the time with affirmations, or with the experience that comes along with just blindly trying to jump, from one place to another. And the way to get there faster is to literally like walk it through. So I hope that made sense for you. I really encourage you to feel free to take 7 minutes. You can set a timer, 7 minutes or so, to just write down what you experienced. And I'll be taking over Sankalpa's Instagram today, which is fun. So I will be seeing you a little bit more later. But as always, I really appreciate your energy and your time, and Victoria, you just letting me share this space with you and your crew. It's amazing. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Talk soon.